As I have said before, the story of The Last of Us Part 2 is a bit problematic, and there are a lot of missteps in the story the fans didn't like. There is also a petition going around to remake Part 2, and it is signed by nearly 50,000 people. And while the possibility of that happening is extremely slim, we amateur YouTubers still have the right to tell industry professionals how to do their job. So before we get started, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Probably the first misstep in the story of The Last of Us 2 was killing Joel right in the beginning of the game. Players played as Joel throughout the first game and see Joel as much more than a character in a video game. They see him as a father figure to Ellie, a brother to Tommy. Players had a connection with Joel. They supported his decision to kill all the Fireflies because of that connection. And those same fans picked up the controller to play The Last of Us 2 and found their favorite character dead in the first hour. There were ways to expand the storyline without his death. Check out my video on an alternate story for The Last of Us 2. A story in which Joel doesn't die. But I guess if you did want to kill Joel, if you were adamant on killing him off, it could have been handled a lot better. In the game, it was just something that happened by chance. Oh, we two met at the lodge, then I found out his name, then I took him back to my place and then I killed him. Is it a rom-com or a revenge story? A much more planned out killing of Joel would have been much better for the fans and Joel's character. Because Joel's character from the first game would never fall for an ambush. Maybe something like Abby getting into Jackson, gaining Joel's trust, and then killing him off would make a much better story and give justice to Joel's character. And also provide for some character development for Abby that could have been much better. Stop pushing Abby down our throat. The whole thing that the story of Part 2 revolves around is showing players Abby's side of the story. And the game tries to show Abby in a good light, but tries too much on that. Abby's part of the game is much more entertaining than Ellie's part. When I played as Abby, I wanted to indulge in melee combat more, even if that meant I would take some damage. That's how good the melee combat for Abby was, because of those gains. All the best guns in the games are equipped when playing as Abby. The best boss fights are with Abby. Other than that, they show her petting dogs and going against her whole faction just to help two strangers, Yara and Lev, which completely goes against her no bullshit character that was shown up till that point. Abby is the one that killed my main man Joel, and players loved Joel and hated Abby right from the starting. Pushing her down our throats, showing her as this flawless character just made it worse. The confusing storytelling. The first game was a shining example of how a complicated story can be told through simple storytelling. The first game's road movie format of storytelling was a stroke of genius. But the second game ditches it for a story heavily relied on flashbacks, even showing a flashback within a flashback within a flashback, kinda like a Nolan movie. At the beginning of the game, we hear about a bar fight which isn't shown till 18 hours later. The whole story is scattered throughout the game. This also created a lot of confusion in arranging the events of the game for the player. So they could have fixed this by showing us Abby's storyline till Abby's father's death and showing the proper aftermath of her father's death. Then show us what Ellie and Joel were up to between the events of the two games. The music store flashback, the hospital flashback, the bar fight, and finally the flashback which showed Joel and Ellie trying to patch things up. And after all of that, show us a well-written death of Joel at Abby's hands. This would give the player Abby's perspective and build up pity for Abby in the eyes of the player, and would justify Abby killing Joel in the eyes of the player. Also, the player would know that Joel and Ellie were trying to work out their differences, but they couldn't do that because of Joel's death, which will make Joel's death even more heartbreaking. This would also let players play Joel as a playable character for a couple of hours in the game. Capitalize on Joel's death by killing Abby. The Last of Us 2 kills off Joel at the hands of Abby, and then the whole game is a revenge tale of how Ellie will take her revenge on Abby. She finds out about Abby's faction, kills all of her friends, even torturing her for information. She kills hundreds of wolves and seraphites that didn't even have anything to do with Abby or Ellie. The body count that Ellie gathers up for her revenge is insane. But then Abby kicks her ass and lets Ellie go. Ellie settles down with Dina and starts a family. But then she leaves her happy life to exact her revenge. Again she tracks down Abby to Santa Barbara and then again kills a cult full of people, frees some prisoner leading even to more death, and then after a pretty good hand-to-hand fight she lets her go? I mean, why literally kill hundreds of people just to let her go? It doesn't make any sense. One argument would be that Abby is not a bad person and that's why Ellie left her. But Ellie doesn't know that. All Ellie knows is that Abby is Joel's killer. Another argument would be Ellie wanted the violence to end. But then why kill so many people and just let Abby go? The ending just didn't make sense, and for the story to be satisfactory, Abby had to die at the hands of Ellie, which didn't happen. It spits on the memory of Joel, leaves Ellie alone without a family, and all for nothing. And that's why it's a terrible ending. And the last one. Drop the whole revenge angle and do some fan service. From the point The Last of Us 2 was announced, it was made clear by the people in charge that while the first game was based on love, the second will be based on hatred and revenge. And before the game was even launched, Neil Druckmann said things like fans won't like it. And this again was a big misstep, in my opinion. Like the great Angry Joe said, I can open a box of shit and not like it. Instead of the whole revenge thing, maybe Abby comes close to Joel with the motive of killing him, but finds Joel to be a great guy. And then she has an internal conflict over whether or not to kill Joel, and then instead of killing him, decides to forgive him. Now I know, I get it, that won't make the best game. But would be a better story. Instead of going against fans, just give them what they want. Give them some Ellie and Joel time. Give them the revenge they want. Service the fans a little bit instead of going against them. The whole revenge angle did make sense and had some potential, but was a generic and overdone idea. There are so many instances of revenge movies. Taken the one with the Keanu Reeves one, what is it called? John Wick, right. John Wick. The revenge storyline is already done. It's already generic, it's already overdone. The thing that they did to stand apart from the revenge angle was spare Abby at the last minute. But that didn't make sense. After 15 to 20 hours of killing from Ellie's side, why let Abby go? I'm still not over it. Alright guys, that's how I would fix The Last of Us Part 2. If you like the video, give us a like, share and subscribe. And tell me down in the comments, do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Tell me what's your perspective. And I'll see you in the next one.